Alright, hey guys, welcome to another West Coast Mopars video. I know this channel's mostly Mopars, but I do get the odd other car in here. This is a 61 Ford Falcon I got pretty cheap. It was sitting in town, parked in the same driveway forever. I saw it a couple times driving by. Anyways, the other day I was driving I have a 70 Dart, 340 4-speed. I was driving that past the house and saw that thing and thought, you know what, I'm just gonna ask about it because it's always sitting there, and my work's been slow, so I've been fixing up old relics I see sitting around and selling them to other people to enjoy. So this yeah, I didn't pay too much for it. I think I did okay. I always kind of like these Falcons. Fords, I guess they always share these round taillights in the early 60s. Or at least it seems to be. Everything has a round taillight. It's not horrible. It looks, well, it's bad, but I think the lady bought it in 1999. She drove it till about 2006. Then she parked it. So when I bought it from her, in her eyes, this thing was worth 40 grand, and I had to remind her just how much work goes into these to bring them back. I don't know if the engine's stuck or not. It's I think it's a 144 straight 6. Oh, sorry. It's a 3 on the tree. I don't know how you can see that. I'm not right in the light there. Everything's just old on it. It's got points. Got a spare fuel pump in the trunk I saw already, which is good because from what I can tell, you can't get these fuel pumps. It's a fuel pump slash vacuum pump, so I'm guessing it's probably got vacuum wipers. But straight 6, and it's 3 on the tree, and everything on it's kind of just a little worn. Got duct tape all over the seat there. Headliner's still in it. I don't know how that gauge cluster is still so shiny. The rest of the car kind of took a dive, but she said she put a new clutch in it when she had it, so there's hope there that I won't have to do too much with that. It's got this interesting plaid seat. She said those were in it when she got it. I don't know if that's original or not. I'm not a huge Ford guy. I do have a 73 Ford Highboy, a 4x4 that I've had for years and years. I've had it longer than most of my Mopars. My dad, it was his, and when he passed away I got it. So I can't say I'm like a strict Mopar guy, but yeah, this little Falcon, I don't know, neat little car. That's super small. And the styling for 61, I mean, everybody else, well, Chrysler at least, big fins and stuff. 61 Ford, it's like, looks like a mid-60s Chrysler. Either they were ahead of the time or they weren't with the time, I don't know. But yeah, it's, you know, it's got some cancer in the fender. Unfortunately, the bottoms of the doors are on this side are just starting to go. The paint's blistering. This quarter panel's, it's pretty rotten at the bottom. And the strut, the front strut on the passenger side, rotted off the frame. That was one of the things got the price down quite a bit. I don't mind plating the frame and welding it back together, but it's still something I'll have to do. This wheel sits real crooked and wonky. You can see under here, the strut rod just, I guess maybe that's a bad spot. I don't know. I don't know these cars very well, but anyhow, another project. This one, same as that little 62 Valiant. Just gonna fix it up. Make it safe, brakes, get it running, driving safe, and I'm not going to stress too much about the body, I don't think. Yeah, just sell it cheap. Let the next guy, if he wants to do the body work, great. If he wants to just cruise it around, and who cares, or have a project you can slowly fix up while you drive it. Okay, pulled the Falcon in the shop here. I have a little 52 Ferguson tractor that I use. It's actually just out behind the Falcon here. Show you guys that. That thing's awesome. You turn the wheels sharp 90 and you can literally just drive in small circles. It's pretty short. Little 4-cylinder. I think it's 19 horsepower. But I got another video on this. I didn't think I talked in it at all. But yeah, this thing was seized in sitting in my buddy's front yard. Just a lawn ornament. And he said, basically, if you want it, you can have it. If not, it's probably eventually going to go to scrap. So I took it home, and I wouldn't say I rebuilt the engine, but I pulled the head and cleaned it up. Number 2 and 3 cylinders are so rusty you couldn't even see them. So anyways, this thing's super reliable. I use it all the time. Basically just to pull stuff around. The 3-point works, but it's not quite strong enough, I don't think, to lift. I was going to try and lift engines and stuff, but we'll see. But yeah, anyhow, so that's how I get everything in the shop on the hoist that doesn't run, like the Falcon. So I had it up on the hoist and looking underneath. It's all there. It's had floor pans replaced, but the frame, you guys remember that Valiant I just did? The frame on this thing is so much better. And this is a unibody as well. However, on the front, as I mentioned before, it does have that strut rod that's rotted off, so I'll have to fix that. But I'm just about to pull the plug wires and pull the plugs and spray down the cylinders, and I need to see if this will turn over with a wrench on the socket. Sorry, a wrench on the crank. Okay, I pulled the plugs. This is farthest to the right is the number 6. Looking a little rich, or maybe more like looking like a lot of oil. Keep going through. The rest of them are like that, but number 5, man, this is pretty good. I don't know if the camera will focus well, but there is a pile of crap on there. So yeah, this will be interesting. We'll see. Okay, let's see if this rotates. Yep. Pretty easy, actually. I mean, the plugs aren't in it, but that's a good sign. So I did just change this starter relay down here. And a bunch of the connections were super crusty. So we've got keys. Hey, that rotated pretty good. Sounds like we got a turn signal. Oh, you can see it kind of flashing in the dash there. An oil light. Now let's see if we got some tail lights. Yep. Well, it's amazing some of the stuff that still works after sitting for, I think she said, since 06. Actually, let's check the headlights. I don't know if we got a headlight switch. There we go, one headlight. That's a good sign. At least the rats haven't chewed the wires to the right one. Cool. Well, keep going through it and probably put the plugs back in, file down the points, and see if it'll at least flash off with a little bit of gas down the carb. and we'll go from there. Okay, I have pulled the distributor cap off. I put the plugs back in, and I did tidy up the points. I used just some fine sandpaper. So if I stick this, I did have it balanced there. Stick this next to a good ground. Hopefully I'll reach down and open the points with a screwdriver. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but I don't know how well it's going to show up. Anyways, I do have spark coming out of the coil when I open the points, so it's telling me the coil should work. Points are working, so I'll just put this back together, and I'll probably just try and fill that bowl with some good fuel. I'll probably disconnect the fuel pump so I don't keep pumping that varnish out of the tank. And we'll just see if it'll flash off, and hopefully I've got oil pressure. Well, I just tried cranking on it, and there is some oil coming out. So I looked up, I think the oil filter is actually dripping out a hole in the bottom because it's rotted out. So I do have some old filters here that we'll see if any of those pieces of crap on the chair there, those are ones that I don't really want to use on anything I like. So I'll see if any of those fits there and see if we can at least get this thing to flash off. Alright, so I changed the the oil filter. The other one had a hole in the side, so as soon as he cranked on it, it spewed a bunch of oil on the ground. So I just did the oil change. Normally I would have liked to get it running for a few minutes first to get everything down to the bottom, but I didn't really have that opportunity. So it's got new oil. I disconnected the tank from the fuel pump so I don't keep pumping all that varnish up here. It just stinks in the shop. But I dumped some fresh gas down, and I just sort of bypassed the key so I could do this out here. And I had it running for a couple seconds. I should have filmed it, but let's see if it'll do it again. Yeah, so I think that's promising. At least it's doing something. It's got a bad exhaust leak, just like the Valiant seems to be my thing. Yeah, so next I'm gonna probably try and drain that tank or drop it and get some fresh fuel in there. And I ended up just changing the condenser on the points. I didn't have any Ford points. I've got a lot of Chrysler points, but not much for a Ford, so I just cleaned up those points in it. That coil seems to be working. And I'm going to play around with the timing. It seems a little advanced to me. I could hear it kicking back a little on the starter before. So I don't know if anybody noticed when I ran that, I didn't have number 1 plugged on. So I ran out of 5 cylinders. That did okay. Anyways, I plugged number 1 on and ran it again. It was a lot smoother. But that carb, it's just spewing out. So I'm going to pull it apart. And I don't have a kit for it, but I do have a bunch of old single barrel Holley carb parts, so they probably will work in there. I think they're about all the same, just the linkage kind of changed, so it's a little grimy. We'll pull it apart, see what it looks like. Okay, on the Falcon here, I'm just about to change this line. This is pretty old and crusty. And then I did drain the tank. It's actually got a drain plug there. And what came out, I can't really see it now. It was green fuel. I don't know. Somebody mentioned green was leaded. I don't know where maybe she put lead additive in the fuel. Curb had something weird going on with it. This guy right here is the squirter for the accelerator pump on this Holley, and it wasn't squirting at all, so I let it soak and brake clean, blew it out with compressed air. That seemed to help the squirter problem, so now it seems to be starting at least off the pedal when you pump the gas. Before you had to constantly bottle feed it. So anyways, see if it'll fire up here. Oh yeah, there we go. Got a pretty good exhaust leak, just like the Valiant. What do I expect? Sitting around. I think this was parked since, I think she said 06, but I feel like she's kind of, maybe her dates are wrong or she's a bit confused, because... But I had it idling for a little while here. I was trying to see if the thermostat would open. And it was blowing blue pretty good. Just those rings just need to come around, and probably needs some seals on the valves. It runs pretty smooth considering it hasn't ran in, well, 20 years, just shy. Charging lights on, no wonder. Check out that oil pressure. That's pretty good. Temp gauge doesn't seem to be moving. I don't know if it's just needs some help. And it was funny with the choke. It won't run. See, you just touch it and it just wants to die. So something with this choke, it's weird. It's manual choke, and this thing just won't idle unless you got it choked. But anyways, yeah. So next thing I'm gonna deal with this. Here, let me shut this off. Anyhow, next thing I'm gonna get it up on the hoist and or put it up in the air, and I've got to address that front wheel. I did try the clutch out, and it does move first and reverse, moves forwards, backwards, so that's good. But I don't want to move it too much with this rotted corner over here. You can see it hanging down here. I got to deal with that, and then that'll help this wheel not flop around, and then we can actually maybe back it out of the shop and see how well it moves. Alright, just going to pull the wheel off, take a look at this lower control arm. Oh, wrong size. Buddy coming by in a bit. He's going to bring me some 13-inch tires that are slightly better than these. Pull this hub apart, get this drum off so I can see what the shoes look like. I'm gonna have to do the wheel cylinders anyways. juice. That's not the juice. Okay. Just a little pile of rust in there. But otherwise, actually, if I didn't destroy those, which doesn't look like I did, I should be able to keep them. Okay, I got this disassembled. That was kind of a pain. Everything's just old and not wanting to come apart. But under here you can see the extent of the frame damage. Maybe the battery acid maybe over the years ran down and rotted it out. Battery tray is right above it, so yeah, and then this is that lower control arm. So it was kind of bent, and this pin goes through here. Well, you can see how much of a gap there is there. So I'm gonna have to come up with something creative, probably try and bend this back and maybe weld a big washer in there. I found a site online that sells lower control arms for 62 and up Falcons, but not 60, 61, and they do appear to be different. So I think I'm gonna have to fabricate something. We definitely don't have too many Falcon parts cars sitting around out here, at least. Mind you, I'm mostly a Mopar guy. I don't really know where there's many Fords sitting around. So, and then yeah, this is the other end of the strut. I'll have to probably just rebuild that. Looks pretty simple. Okay, so after weeks of waiting for this lower control arm, it finally showed up. The shipper thought it had shipped. The seller thought it had shipped, but somehow in between handing it over to from the seller to the shipper, it got lost. So anyways, after numerous phone calls and a lot of waiting, I finally got this lower control arm. It was pretty cheap. It's like 50 bucks. Anyways, it's nice to see as a, you know, you're working on Fords, you can just buy these lower control arms, because the one that came out of here was just crusty and twisted, and I thought, oh man, this is going to be horrible to try and fabricate. So yeah, for 50 bucks, this thing's pretty good. The only difference, and I don't know if whoever's stamping these is confused, but this is not the same as the one that came out. It's bigger ball joint. See, the upper is still small. Well, you can see that. The lower is quite a lot larger. The mount here for the strut rod, I had to remount the holes because of course they were closer together. This one's farther apart. The sway bar went in fine. I may have to grind down this part here to clear the backing plate. So, and you can't switch this ball joint out with a small one because everything on this arm is smaller. So I feel like they shipped me one for like a, say a 64, 65, but the listing said 61. I'm not a big Ford guy, other than I've got the couple pickups, but these early Falcons are not my forte. I ended up reaming out the spindle. I had to ream that out both sides to get it to clear the new taper and the new ball joint. So I'll just have to make a note, put it in a glove box for the next guy. Hey, you need to order the bigger lower ball joint, because I just couldn't find that proper lower control arm anywhere. So this is what I ended up having to do. Okay, I'm just gonna change these tires. These are, well, you can see them. They're all cracked down the sides, and they're just worn right out. This is an old Coates 4040. It's a little old. It was left outside when I got it. I got it for super cheap. The guy said, "Oh, it doesn't work at all." Well, it just needed to be brought back inside, and used and cleaned up. And this thing was one of the best purchases. All those times you got to go down to the tire shop and off. And a buddy of mine brought these tires by because they're 13s. 13s are not the easiest to find. These are like basically brand new. So that's awesome. I got them for pretty good, well, not pretty good, super good price. While I'm at it, I'm going to change this. Might change this valve stem. Actually, it looks okay. I might just leave that alone. Doesn't look like it was put in that long ago. Those tires were, the alignment's terrible on that thing, but I got the grease. I got dish soap too, but sometimes the grease helps with when the rim isn't perfect or the tire is used or anything. The grease will help seal it. A lot of guys, they'll bring their tires over and ask me to do them, and then they'll complain, don't use the grease, but it does work if you don't want them to, if you're not sure if they're going to leak or not. That's all there is to it. Then you just gotta put the valve stem back in. Get some air and air it up, and that's that. Oh, 40 pounds. That's what it calls for. Seems a bit high, but well, 44, but I just did 40. There we go. And I've got a bubble balancer over in the corner there, so I'll just balance this, and this can go on the car, and then I won't bother showing you guys the rest of the tires, but you get the idea. And then I've got this old balancer here, just a bubble balancer. It's so you just set your bubble there in the center, throw your wheel on top, push down on the lever, and then you can see here, see how the bubble's not centered anymore. So you just grab a weight. Got an old pail of weights here. And you just put the weight on the same side as the bubble, and I just guessed that was 1.5, and that's back to center. So I won't put it on this side, I'll actually put it on the opposite side so you don't have to look at it. But yeah, that's all there is to it. You just find the right sized weight and get your bubble back to center, tack it on, and that's that. Okay, that's this side wrapped up. So I just made up some sheet metal, welded in that flat plate, made that piece out of angle iron and just welded it in. A new control arm is in. I got new wheel cylinder, new brake hose. That's all ready to be bled. Wheels back on with the little hubcap. And it's sitting a lot straighter. It was pretty crooked before. This side is still pretty crooked, so that's one big thing out of the way. So I'm just gonna pull the rest of it apart, change the wheel cylinders, brake hoses, clean up the shoes, change the tires, and I don't know, I'll see how the brake lines look. That passenger side I was actually able to keep it. It looked pretty good. I just want to get these brakes done. This thing's been on my hoist for a few weeks now while I was waiting for that control arm. So I'd love to just get this wrapped up, get it driving around, and pass it on to the next person. I got endless projects waiting on my own stuff that I got to get to, so it'd be good to get this one finished up. Alright, I got the brakes all bled, new master cylinder. I put new wheel cylinders, new brake hoses. I didn't run any new brake lines. Actually, all the lines came apart totally fine, which was awesome. None of them are crusty or looked scary, so I just left them alone. Yeah, and then I just have been sort of polishing up the bumper a little bit here. It's a little bit wavy. It's not perfect, but you can see over here where I haven't got to it yet. That's actually I'm using this metal polish. I don't know if I love it. See, the chrome previous to the metal polish was actually a little shinier, but just covered in surface rust. Over here it cleaned up a little better, but I think the polish is actually dulling down the chrome a little, so I might try some chrome polish afterwards. After that, I got to get to this door. You can see the button's missing. It's actually in the glove box. She said somehow it came out. I don't know how that would have happened. I feel like the button probably had to go in from the inside, but anyways, and then I gotta find another mirror. You know, I don't love this cheapy plastic thing. Yeah, it's slowly getting there. It's gonna clean up the inside a little bit. I've got a 64 Ford dump truck out there. It's got a really nice armrest in it, just the driver's side, so I think somebody's added it, but I'm just going to put it in here. I don't need one in that thing. The floor needs a little bit of a sort of a patch just to hold it structurally together. Yeah, just sort of putting it back together, and I'll probably fire it up later and pull it outside. Okay, pulled the driver's door handle. So this button was in the glove box. Little spring there. And this is how it looks. So she just said that the button fell out one day. She had some work done on the car, and somebody just left the button in the glove box. I don't know why they didn't fix it, but I think this ring, which was just in the door handle there, I'm pretty sure goes around the end of this button, I'm guessing. I mean, I don't know, but it looks like it probably broke off there. So I might just try JB welding this to this chrome piece. It's just pot metal. Try JB welding these together. Stick it back in, because otherwise there's nothing to hold the button in. It just, you know, you put the button in, it just falls out the other side. So I'm guessing this ring sits in there, keeps the button in place. Yeah, but otherwise the rest of the door looks, you know, about average, I guess. It's full of debris in the bottom. Down here it's full of crap, rat poop and pine needles. So I'll vacuum that out. The handles and everything came off, no problem. And I've taken the trim piece off here, and I'm just going to spray it silver, try and clean it up a bit. You know, the other ones are just rusty. Okay, I just used some JB Weld on this yesterday. Let it dry overnight, and it seems to be holding. So stick that back in the door handle. Put the little cap on. Put the screw in. And I'll tighten it down in a sec here, but that's all I needed. So yeah, I can put that back in the door, and at least now the driver's door opens. Amazing how quick that was, you know. That lady, I think she struggled with that. That button was out for years, and she would just leave the butterfly window open, reach in and pull up on the handle instead of just, you know, having someone do that for her or figuring that out. Alright, well, I just sealed up the exhaust with some cement. I didn't have the gasket. What was in there was a little crusty, but I just used that, I think they call it spider patch. You get it from Canadian Tire. It's just an exhaust cement. Anyways, I just backed it out, fired it up, backed it out. It does not want to run unless that choke is almost closed, and it's a manual choke. And we got some pretty hot weather these days. It's about 30 degrees Celsius right now, so the fact that it doesn't want to run without that choke closed is interesting, but I'll just let it idle for a while. It has been sitting, I think she said she last drove it in 2004, 2006 maybe, so it's about 20 years. So I'll just let it idle for a while. Hope the rings come back around. But brakes work great. I just backed out of the shop and I got a little bit of a hill here, so brakes are working good. It does fire up every time. It's stalled a couple times and it fires right back up. I'm hoping that intake exhaust manifold seals up a little bit after it's been running and quiets up, but it is blowing a little bit of blue. Hopefully those seals come around and the rings start working again. I think the fuel gauge started coming around. It's got a little bit of a miss I can hear, but again, hopefully it cheers up a little bit. It's got really good oil pressure. Also, the generator light is on, I think. Yeah, it's still on, so I'll have to check the... It doesn't have a generator. Somebody's put an alternator in it. I'm assuming it would have come with a generator. 61, probably. I think my 62 Chrysler had a generator, so it's right around that era where they were... Some companies had it, some were getting rid of it, but... It cleaned up half decent. Cute little thing in here, that's for sure. It's tiny. I don't think the e-brake's working. Here's to see if I push on this choke. It's got this manual choke. See, it just shuts off. So pull it out a little bit. Turn the key, it fires right up. And then put it in first gear. You know, it does, clutch works, brakes are working, reverse. Yeah, it's finicky. That holy carb is, doesn't seem like it's all that happy, but I'll let it idle for a while. I gotta figure out that, really gotta figure out the charging issue. Looks like it's got a more modern voltage regulator in it, so hopefully I can just, I think my Ford pickup uses the same one. I might have a spare, so I'm hoping it's just the regulator. Or if the alternator they put in is from, you know, a 60s or 70s car. I've probably got a couple of those kicking around. Alright, on the Falcon here, I'm going to pull the valve cover, and I've ordered the intake exhaust gasket because it leaks so bad, and I think it's given it a vacuum leak. I can't quite tune it quite properly. It put a vacuum cage on it and it's just all over the map. It's not very happy. So I'm just gonna pull the valve cover off here, and then I'm gonna do the valve lash. I looked online. It says there it's 16 thou for both intake and exhaust. So that's pretty simple. And I'll do it cold, so I'll probably add a thou. So say 17. And I'll just check for anything. I mean, it wasn't running like it's got bent push rods, but you know, you just want to check. This thing was sitting so long, I should check for any stuck valves or anything like that. It does have a bit of a stumble sometimes, so this is probably going to help big time. And then while I'm in here, I think the gaskets are supposed to show up tomorrow or Thursday. I'll probably start pulling that intake and exhaust manifold off there, and just get it ready for the new gaskets. I can already just see looking down there, they're so crusty and worn out. So I probably should have done that before I fired it up, but you know, you don't want to start just throwing money at something and then find out you didn't need to do it. So okay, I got the exhaust manifold pulled off. So earlier I had mentioned intake and exhaust gasket, but I guess I never realized that that Ford's, the intake here is just part of the head. You know, I'm used to seeing on the Chryslers and everything, it's the intake bolts on, but this is just grafted into the head, so that's interesting. Haven't seen that before, at least on these little, this is a 144, so you guys tell me, maybe the 170s had this as well. I think they were basically the same engine. These were just smaller. Yeah, anyways, so that's interesting. This gasket here, this is not where the carb, well, the carb sits. There's this plate here. The carb sits on the top, but on the bottom, somebody had just siliconed it. I guess they probably pulled it off. They didn't have a gasket. So that was probably contributing to my vacuum leak. It was just silicone and it was ancient. So also they've got this copper pipe. This is one of the vacuum, I'm assuming it's vacuum, goes down there. They had it running off that little base plate with one hose clamp, and it just came in the end. So there's a couple spots where it was struggling, but, and then the exhaust manifold there, this, it all came out pretty easy. I do have one broken stud right there on the end, got to deal with, but the gasket itself, there's not much left. It just basically crumbled as I pulled that off there. So yeah, that was definitely not helping, but the manifold's nice. There's no cracks, and I'm just waiting on the gasket to show up. Should be here tomorrow. And I can get this button back up. I'll do the valve lash after. And hopefully this little thing will run a lot smoother. It runs pretty good, but it does have a miss. You can hear it sputtering a little bit here and there. And it's a pretty good miss. It's like a heavy missed cylinder. It's not just a little bit of a miss. So be good to get that sorted out, and then hopefully this thing will run a little better, and then I can put some insurance on it, drive it around, and hopefully somebody, like what happened with the Valiant, I'm hoping somebody will just see me and want it bad enough and they'll ask me about it, rather than, you know, you list stuff for sale, put it on Marketplace, and oh my god, nobody shows up. Everybody's just, you know, I guess common courtesy is a thing of the past to tell somebody you're not going to show up and when you say you are. So as you can tell, I've had some of that happen. So okay, got that manifold back together. I just changed the gasket there. You guys saw the other one was just crumbling apart, so new one in there. I ended up having to use some high temp RTV down on the end there. You can see it a little bit smeared on the manifold too. I'll have to clean that up, but that last stud, it broke off, and I heated it up and I could not get it with a pipe wrench. It was about to shear off, and I'm not really interested in pulling the head. So the bottom bolts are in, all the top ones are in except for that one. It should be fine. You know, every FE I've ever had, you know, a 390 or a 360, those manifold bolts are always sheared off. You're lucky if you got 2 or 3 left at the end. So yeah, now I'm just doing, I pulled the rocker arms, I'm just changing the valve stem seals. Some of them are okay, some of them just crumbled in my fingers. You know the story, but just gonna change those. And I'm just going through, you know, 153, 624 through the cylinders, rotating the crank so that the piston's at top dead center. That's the best way to not drop a valve. And I do have air. I've got a compressed air I can shoot in there if I need to, but yeah, nothing like dropping a valve down there and then, oh my god, then you gotta pull the head and then you're opening a whole can of worms. But no, it's going pretty smooth. And I sprayed the valve cover. The online information says 61 Ford, a 144 was blue. It's supposed to be medium blue. I only have dark blue, but it's a Ford color. And the 170s were red, so I sprayed it blue. I don't know if anyone will know or notice or care or whatever, but yeah, clean it up a little bit when you look in there. It's pretty grungy and gross, and yeah. Okay, so here it is. I've got I painted the air cleaner blue, and the, like I said, the valve cover there, the dark blue. I think the online said medium, but that's what I had. So I painted the 390 in my pickup this same color, and it looks pretty good. So I don't think you know, maybe the purists will point it out, but they'll probably also point out the rest of this car and go, why would you save it? But you know, we don't have to just only drive the same stuff. It's neat to have variety out there. You guys probably heard me say that before. Yeah, so I did a valve adjustment. They were actually all a little tight, if anything. They were probably like 14 thou, so I just did them cold. Like hot says 16, so I did 17 because I did it cold. And the air cleaner does not actually fit this carb. It's a Holley single barrel, but maybe it's from a bigger engine. The throat's actually larger. But I just, you can see underneath there, I got a little creative. I used a hose on there, and it sucked tight over the throat, and then it sucked tight to the air cleaner base. Because I really wanted to use the original air cleaner. The one on here was one of those cheesy, it was like a 4-inch chrome air cleaner. It was so small, it just looked so goofy on there, and they had glued it down to the air cleaner, so, or sorry, to the carburetor. So that's, I think it looks fine. It's not going to go anywhere. It does the job. It's not sucking air in from the bottom. I think it'll be fine, and it just sort of made this engine look a little better. Yeah, so I'll do the fire up here. I just fired it up a second ago anyways, just to make sure it was all good. But Still got really good oil pressure. I noticed last time the temp gauge does work, and it did stop, so obviously the thermostat's opening. That's good. It's a little clattery right now. I might check the valves again. Mind you, it just sounds like an old, to me it sounds like an inline 6, which is what it's supposed to sound like. So much quieter though. That exhaust leak's gone. And then back here, the nice thing is no more blue smoke. Man, it was just cranking it out before, so doing those valve stem seals was a good thing. I also changed the gas cap on here. It had one on here, it didn't fit. This one was actually a locking cap, which I didn't realize until I clicked it on. And then I moved this thing and I went, oh no, there's a key goes here. And I didn't have the key, so I ended up drilling it out. You know, whatever, it's just something to go on there, something I had upstairs on the shelf. But I'm just gonna back it out here and give it a good wash. Try and clean it up a little better. And then I'll probably whip into town and put some plates on it. I gotta get this thing out and driving around and see how it does before I even bother listing it for sale. Who knows, it might need a vehicle inspection. I hope not. Here in BC, I've said this on another video, if it needs a vehicle inspection, you're hoopered. I mean, it can be done, but you just gotta jump through all kinds of hoops and yeah, let's see what it. Oh, the carb is way better. Before you would just touch it and it would stumble and want to die and oh, much better. Actually, I think I'm in third. Yep. I don't love this goofy mirror over here. It's plastic, but I didn't have anything else with the... This clutch is okay. It's kind of... feels like it's at the top of the pedal, but I could always try and adjust it. But I might just bomb it around for a while and see how it does. And I did put a meter on the battery. It is charging 13.8. So I'm happy with that. Yeah, I'll give it a good wash. Put some insurance on it. I'm still waiting on the brake light switch to come in at the parts store. It's got that one that goes on the master cylinder. They never seem to work right. But yeah, it's not a bad looking little car. It's a good 10 footer, or sorry, a good 20 footer. 10 feet might be pushing it. Still no blue smoke. That's awesome. It was just pumping it out before. I was thinking, oh no, this isn't looking good. Okay, just scrubbed it with soapy water and rinsed it off, and then I like to use these SOS pads with the blue, the soap, you know, these things. So, you know, stuff like this that I just wouldn't come up with the soapy rag. This doesn't harm the paint, but really takes out all that crap that you couldn't get. Just too hard to get out. Let me rinse that, show you guys what it looks like. It's actually coming out pretty good. That's a hole. Must have been a mirror maybe, or something mounted here. The other fender's got a couple holes way up here. I think they had mirrors up here, some of them. So that would explain the goofy aftermarket mirrors somebody's put on here. It's also missing the little check mark sort of emblem there. Yeah, the SOS pads, I love these things for getting all the extra little bits off that you spend a lot of time polishing this stuff, but this fender could actually clean up pretty good with just a quick scrub. Did a quick scrub there, give it a rinse, and so yeah, just do that, and it doesn't take long to really clean up. Something that 2 minutes ago looked kind of so-so. It'll really clean this little car up, and it'll also remove there's some surface rust that sort of has run down, here and along the rocker panel there. That SOS pad will remove that, or most of it. And then on the roof here, I don't know how well you can see it, but it's like oxidized paint, and it's just covered in all kinds of grit and stuff. And these things they're just quad zero steel wool. You just run it on the roof and oxidize paint, and you could spend all day trying to buff this if you wanted, but it's pretty thin. This car sat outside its whole life, I think, so this paint is kind of on its last legs. So you just hit that, and we'll come down here, just show you guys a couple spots. This you gotta scrub a little harder. Oh, that's actually pitch, I think, but you just spend a couple minutes on it. That big streak there that was there, that's gone now. Gotta do back there still. And then up here on the roof, way better. So I'll just go over the whole car doing that and show you guys after. Unfortunate about the roof here, all these spots here, the paint's just come off. The lady said she had been tarping it in the winter, laying a tarp on it, which unfortunately, this is what happens. You lay a tarp on it, it just seals all the moisture in there, and then it just blisters the paint, and it didn't, I don't know why she was tarping it. She said it wasn't leaking, so for some reason she thought tarping it was the answer. It's just all cracking up here, but it's really bad along the drip rail. But anyways, aside from that, it's cleaned up pretty good. Not a bad looking little car. Let's see once it's dry if it still looks as good. Probably not. And that mirror on the driver's side there is just driving me nuts, so let's take a walk into the back. I feel like I've got some doors or something with some square mirrors on them. This is a passenger door. I wonder if this one would work. This is off an old Dart, but it's got this square mirror, which actually looks like it'll go both ways. It doesn't look like it leans to one way or the other, so maybe I'll pull this one off and stick it on there. I don't know that I have anything else. This green one doesn't have any mirrors. What else do I have? No mirror. No mirrors. Story of my life. No mirrors. I don't think I have. Oh, there's another driver's door here. No mirror. And then the rest of this stuff, just fenders and some hoods, and there is this funky thing, but it's round. I don't know what it's from. This is a Monaco, but this mirror's not original. Somebody's glued a bunch of toys and junk to it, unfortunately. So no mirror there. You can see all the wonky stuff this guy did. If he's watching this right now, he's going to be angry. I'm making fun of his weird car, but yeah, I think I'll pull off the square mirror here and replace that plastic one on there. There we go, much better. It even had a Ford logo on the inside. Who would have known? So that's much. I mean, it's definitely not right for the car, but it kind of matches this side. I didn't realize this side was so round. But at least they're both chrome. They both sort of have the same profile. And I don't have a 70s Datsun mirror on the side. Alright, I just got insurance. I had to switch the brake light switch. It's one of those 2-post ones that threads into the master cylinder. You know, the ones that always fail. They never work. So I changed that. Hopefully we got brake lights. I just fired it up. It's running pretty quiet. So I'm just going to go around the block and probably go get some gas and see how this thing does. So first time for me, first time for you guys. And I'll be driving 3 on the tree with one hand so you guys can see it. Oh, this thing is slow. I thought that Bentley was slow. Man, this thing is gutless. It's just a 144. Maybe it's worn out. I don't know. My foot's like to the floor and it's barely climbing this hill. That's probably why that lady parked it. I mean, it cruises along all right. I don't know if I'm smoking out in the neighborhood, but it's got awesome oil pressure. Look at that, 60 pounds. We're doing, remember she told me she switched the gears to that highway gears and she put, she had somebody switch them out. I don't know what's back there. It feels like 411s. She said downtown Vancouver she couldn't get out a second gear. Well, I'm already in third gear and we're doing 35 miles an hour. And my foot's pretty far down on the floor. It's a little sputtery. I'm just going to drive it around a while and see how it does. Clutch feels pretty good. Shifts into each gear fine. See if it'll downshift. Oh yeah, no problem. I can hear the turn signals blinking away. There's first gear. Second gear. Sorry for the camera moving around a bunch. I don't have anything to put this on in here. I could try laying it on the dash. It might just slide around though. I might have to get one of those sticky things. I mean, it drives fine if you don't mind going slow. First time on the road for this thing in at least 18 years. Last time it had plates, it was 2006. That doesn't mean that it was actually driven then, but oh, this will be a good test. A busy intersection on the highway. But yeah. Let's lay this up here. Hopefully you guys can see. Oh, she's gutless. I just drove my 390 in my Ford, my 73 High Boy, into town to get insurance on this thing, and not to say that it's powerful by any means, but it's way better than this thing. This thing is slow. I can see the guy behind me is staying way back. I don't imagine it's it's probably blowing a bunch of blue. Drives pretty straight, you know, considering I basically just guessed on where the strut rod was supposed to go. Doesn't wander. It actually drives really straight. Steering box feels good. It's just very slow. Oh well, that's okay. I can live with slow. Slow is better than not running. Got a little mist still. I'm hoping it'll just sort of work itself out the more I drive it. Those valves are probably all gummed up. I hadn't run in a long time. I did fill the tank. I was hoping the fuel gauge would start to move, but it didn't. Temp gauge did move, but when I fired it up, it went back down a bit. 40 miles an hour, it's just having I wouldn't say it's having trouble, but it's, you know, it's just kind of it's like a workout for this thing. But like I said, 20 years off the road, not running, and I don't know how the lady before me drove it. I mean, this poor thing had just been neglected. Look at this cool tractor coming down the road here. I'll see if you guys can see this as I go by. It's got a big rake on the back. That thing is cool. Oh, sorry. Stick you up there again. Got a gear down here. The kid at the gas station already asked me if I'd sell it, so that's a good sign. A lot of people staring at it. You don't see many four-door Falcons that are, you know, not restored driving around. A little smelly in here. Not like the Valiant. The Valiant was way worse, but I can see there's a couple holes in the floor and there's no carpet in here. Just pulling in to see a buddy here. Thought I'd show him this thing. Okay, just left my buddy's place. He already fell in love with it. Everybody likes this thing. It's so small. It's abnormally small for a 60s American car. Might try adjusting the timing. It's got a bit of a hesitation here at higher RPMs. I didn't actually set it much. I think I just actually twisted the distributor so I could get it running. I don't remember if I even set the timing. So I might play with that a little bit. I can definitely feel it feels a little bit retarded. I'm happy the clutch works. That's huge. The steering wheel even holds straight. I don't even have to go back and forth. This is good. quite the burnout going around the corner here. Two of them. Alright guys, well, there you have it. That was the, I guess we call it saving a 61 Falcon. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys didn't mind a Ford on the channel. There'd be I got a couple more. I got that dump truck, and I'll probably show off my green Ford in a while here. Thought I'd break the ice with this one. But yeah, I'll probably keep driving this car for a week or two here and let it work out all the bugs and set the timing, fix that part on the floor, and just drive it around and see what it does. And I already got a bunch of thumbs up today driving it around, so that's pretty good. Appreciate all the people who've subscribed already. Trying to grow the channel, and just gives me more motivation to go out and keep, I mean, I would be doing this stuff anyways, but you know, going out to guys' houses and filming their cars and stuff, it's, if you guys keep subscribing, that's more motivation for me to do it. So I really appreciate the guys who have already. Thanks.